if it was a good day, and it didn't even need to be as good of a day as another guy to make the news, right? If I finished third, it was news. If a guy finished third, it wasn't the news, So that's a really good thing. That's a positive. But also if I, had a bad day, or if, I got mad, or had a little bit of emotion show, that was also news too. And so, there's both sides of it. And I truly chose to focus on all the good. And I liked being different.
Yes. Dr. Mindy in the house. All right.
I appreciate that.
The carnivore diet.
Because of what we eat.
Honestly, you've really touched my heart.
So Fast Like a Girl, it's ready for pre-order now. I hope this book changes your life the way the information has changed hundreds of thousands of women that have applied it. From the bottom of my heart, enjoy, and let's get healthy together.
Welcome to the Resetter podcast.
I love it. I love all your content. I can only hope that this helps some people, as that is the mission.
Yes, totally. 1,000%. So, okay, here's where I'm going to start with. So I did a little research on you. I decided to Google you yesterday and learn a little bit about your upbringing. And so my first question, I'm sure everybody asks you this, is how the heck do you get into car racing as a teenage girl? Like, can we just start there? How did that come about?
Yeah. So all the way back, my mom and dad met on a blind date at a snowmobile race when they were like around 20. So my dad was racing snowmobiles and my mom was going to the track because she had a friend who loved going to the races. And so actually that's who set him up on a blind date. Her name is Sue, which is why my middle name is Sue. So they went on the blind date, hit it off. And I came along about 10 minutes later and they got married, had me. And so my dad kept racing and he raced all the way until my sister was born, which was only 2 years after me. And so we were looking for something to do together as a family, to spend time together. My dad worked a ton and my mom stayed home. And so naturally racing was an option, but really it was somebody in our neighborhood that raced go-karts. And that kid went to our school, and one of them was in my sister's grade. And so she's 2 years younger. And so we went and looked at the go-karts, went to the racetrack. Brooke, my sister, was the one who really wanted to do it. And I've realized in my older age now, not old, but older, that I'm really up for anything. Like I'm just kind of a sure. Yeah, I've learned through some DNA testing that I have high dopamine receptors. So like everything is fine for me. Like, let's do it. Yeah. So I said, let's do it. And it turned out to be something that I was really good at and I liked doing, and I kept doing it. My sister quit in the first year. And so my mom did it for a little while, and then, that's just a contentious situation. And so trying to race with my dad's super intense. And so then I kept going. And then when I was 16, I moved away to England. So I started when I was 10, and it was really just a way to spend time together as a family.
Okay. And at 16, you moved to England to race?
I did. Yeah. I lived there for 3 years.
So, and you dropped out of like school, or you did school in England? Like,
I only did school in England. I only did school in England first. So I went there and it was junior year and it was the first semester of junior year. So I couldn't drop out of school yet, or I didn't drop out of school yet. I was gone half of that first semester. Like I was there for the first month, gone for 2 months, and then there for the last month. And then I decided to go live in England full time. And so then I did drop out of school after Christmas that year. And then I got my GED, my good enough diploma.
Oh, you know what? Some of the most intelligent people that I've met doing podcasting are people that did not have traditional school backgrounds.
Isn't that interesting?
And it's so interesting. And, I think so much of school just creates this very linear thought pattern. And the minds that I have fallen in love with are the ones that are like, just see learning and life in every aspect of their day, not in a book or in a structured program like that. So I think it's amazing that you didn't go to traditional school.
Well, thanks for saying that. I mean, of course, I want my doctor who's cutting me open to have gone to
Of
school.
course.
I
Good point.
probably my lawyer. It'd be
Yeah.
great if my lawyer, had a good, law education. But there's just not many professions that really I feel like are necessary to go to school. I think there's so much to learn in life.
Yeah.
Not only do you learn about the craft that you're interested in, you get into it right away, you learn about it, but then on top of that, you get so many other life experiences too.
So true.
In school, there's still so few things that you're experiencing that you would get normally in the world. So I recommend if anyone's interested in anything, just get going. And on top of that, the only other thing I'd say is travel. Like nothing helps grow up faster than travel.
Oh, amen. Amen to that. Okay. So then I'm sure this is the second most popular question you get is, what is it like to be a woman in a sport like that? Like what was, and we're going to take that and talk about your hormones after that. But, no offense, but hormonally we're so different. I can't even imagine what your hormones were doing in that kind of male environment.
Well, I mean, shoot, I was on birth control for most of it, so I'm not sure my hormones really did do anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd be curious if they really have much of a rhythm when you're on birth control or not. But what was it like? My answer is I don't know any different. So like I've never been a guy out there, so I don't know what that's like. But I mean, I think that it was just like all eyeballs, meaning if it was a good day, and it didn't even need to be as good of a day as another guy to make the news, right? If I finished third, it was news. If a guy finished third, it wasn't the news, so that's a really good thing. That's a positive. But also if I, had a bad day, or if, I got mad, or had a little bit of emotion show, that was also news too. And so, there's both sides of it. And I truly chose to focus on all the good. And I liked being different. Yeah. I loved being different. In fact, I didn't like it. I loved it. I really was capable of dealing with that stress and dealing with the pressure and dealing with the attention. Like it just didn't, I mean, I'd get nervous, but it didn't derail me. It actually helped me like narrow in my focus.
And has many women come after you?
God, when I was in IndyCar one year, I think there was like 5 of us out there in the Indy 500, which is a crazy amount. And, last year there was none. So, or this past year, there was none. I can't remember if the year before, maybe there was one the year before, but it's not like it's all of a sudden just been an onslaught of, women that are out there. So, I don't think I think it's one of those things. It's like the stock market, it's kind of just steadily going up usually, but there's dips, so it's like dips. So I don't know. There's not that many out there right now.
I think it's really interesting because I think as women, we're at a really interesting time in history. Yeah. I read a book earlier this summer. It was called the Dark Moon Goddess. And it was all about the matriarchal society. And so this is BC that we lived in a matriarchal society where women's intuitions, where ceremony, where connection was really highlighted. Yeah. And then we moved into a patriarchal society that we've been in, which has been very focused on this is the way a man does something, this is the way a woman does something, and is very almost the opposite. We were suppressed our intuition, we were hung for being ceremonial and thought of as being witches. And now I look at where we're going, and the world I see is a blending of the two. How do we blend those two? Yeah. But when we blend those two, you have to say, okay, well, are we going to see more women get into places like car racing? And are we going to see women on football fields and, places where we typically haven't seen women? We're seeing women now, whether you agree with this or not, in very high political places. And so I think what you did is a little bit the way I see it as this meshing of the feminine and masculine coming together in a beautiful world.
Thank you for sharing that. And I totally agree with you. And I'm going to share, since I am such a hippie at heart, I was in Sedona this weekend and I did a past life regression. And the thing that I saw was basically that I was this like Native American medicine woman, and that I was doing, people didn't want to buy, or they were not like selling, they weren't buying my medicine, my like herbs and tinctures and things. So then I just started doing ceremonies, and that lasted for like 10 years. And then the men didn't like it because it was all women coming to ceremonies. And so in this regression, this is me visualizing this, by the way. I've had regressions where people tell me things, and then this was a regression where I told the story. And I stopped. Like, I just stopped what I was doing because I was either going to be killed or I had to like go leave, and I didn't know where to go. And so I couldn't keep doing it or else I'd be dead. But the message was, and this is why I'm saying it, is that what came through so strongly was that my vision of my life became so like dark, like gray, like there wasn't really a lot of substance to it anymore. And I just kind of died at like 40 years later, like 30, 40 years later, old, like 70 years old, just kind of like that. And so the point is that I died anyway. Like, because I wasn't doing what I should have been doing and what was natural and what was like nourishing and feeding my soul, I died anyway.
Oh my gosh.
So do what you love doing.
Oh my gosh. I got chills. So this is, we're going to get into health here in a moment, but I just want to say that this is like my vision for women in general. And just, and I know we have both men and women that listen to this podcast, but we live in this society that has created these little labels for us and containers for us. And so many people have a passion and purpose in their heart that they don't let flow out of them because of the way the society has taught them. Like, you're this color, you're of this socioeconomic background, you're this sex. So these are the containers you go into. And what I want to see in the new world is that we have no labels, we have no containers, and everybody from the day that they're born is searching for what lights them up. And it doesn't matter their sex, their sexual identity, their socioeconomic background. So I love that idea that you're going to die anyway. So
if you're not doing what you should be doing, you're dead anyway inside. So you might as well do it. And isn't it amazing? Like, we've been working together for a little while, and even just from watching your videos and getting to know you that way, and then interviewing you, like, the passion is so obvious. And isn't it amazing? And I know you work your butt off. Isn't it amazing how when you're doing what you love doing, that there seems to be almost endless energy? It actually gives you energy.
Yes, thank you.
It doesn't rob you of energy. It actually, and I've done both. Like, I've done things that are, take a bunch of energy and I'm depleted. And I've done the things that take a bunch of energy and I'm actually rejuvenated. Yeah. And so, like, I can do 5-6 hours of podcasting in a day where I'm doing the interviewing, which is always harder. And I can get done with it and be like buzzing, like high from it. And so I think that's another important message, is that no matter what the energy level it takes to do a job, if you're in alignment with what's really true to you and what lights you up, like you said, you have endless energy pretty much.
Yeah. I was talking to a bunch of people, hormone experts, that were saying that, you can see people who are dopamine depleted. They don't have all the resources to make enough dopamine, but they are super energetic. They're super passionate. And it's almost like once you start to identify what lights you up, you just keep searching for that, wherever that is. Yeah. And if it comes in the form of work, what a blessing. It's such a blessing. And then the other thing that I have to tell you, I was thinking as you were talking, so I was born in 1969 and I grew up in the 70s. And I was the total tomboy, and the sport that I loved was baseball. So I was the only girl out on the baseball field. In fact, I have a picture, because I grew up in Malibu. I have a picture of, of Sonny and Cher watching a game, because their daughter, that I think is now transitioned, right, to a man, was on my team. This is what it was like to grow up in Malibu. But totally. Here's the funny thing, is that when my hormones started to kick in around 7, I was such a tomboy that I was looking for a sport that had a female figurehead, like somebody I could go and look up to. And at the time, the only feminine figure in an athletic world was Chrissy Everett. And so I saw her and was like, okay, she's athletic. She's a female. That's what I should do. And that I switched sports to tennis, but I always look back on that and I'm like,
God.
It took one female in a figure in a big public platform to help me see where I fit in. But in the end, maybe I would have done something different if I had had more positive female mentors in sports. So
yeah, well,
really interesting.
You're leading the way in so many ways, but there's always going to be aspects of our life where we need some 4-minute mile people,
Yeah, there you go.
We're it in some ways and other people are it in other ways.
Yeah.
And somebody's just got to do it first. And then all of a sudden, as the 4-minute mile story, somebody runs it. It's never been done. And then all of a sudden that year, like 20 more people did it. Like it just needs to be put into the collective consciousness that it's possible. And then changes things. I remember my friend, actually, it's ironically enough, my friend who I was in Sedona with, she told me when I first met her, I first had dinner with her and I was telling her about sort of what I did. And, she didn't know a ton about it. And but she did know, she was aware. And she was just informing me that she's like, you didn't only just change like women, but men too, like the effect on the collective that had, seriously. And we talked about that this week when we were together. And I'm like, yeah, when you said that, it really made a difference because I didn't think about it like that, but it changes the narrative for not only someone like, Chrissy, for you, but also for men too, to be able to see what's possible. And it changes their consciousness too.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's so well said. So well said. And that's part of the new earth I want to create, is where we just are seeing that anything's possible. Doesn't matter your sex, color, socioeconomic, whatever, that anything is possible. So,
totally.
Okay. So now I really want to go into your health, because here's what I'm going to tell you is that I watched you do your Explant surgery on social media. And that was like the first time. I don't know how you came up on my newsfeed, and I was like, wow, like not only are you getting an Explant, not only, do you have a lot of eyeballs on you, but you're like, fuck yeah, I'm getting these things out. And this is why. So let's talk about, like, where did you figure out that toxicity might be an issue for you? And where did you start to see your health change, that it really needed more attention?
Yeah, I usually, when I'm telling the story, I can go back to the very beginning of when I think I noticed it, but I think it's more important because I thought some things, but I dismissed it. So I actually start the story with why I went to the doctor, which was, I went to the doctor at the beginning of 2021. Spring of 2021, because I lost my cycle. It got delayed a couple months and then I skipped, and it was just kind of like, this is probably a bad thing. I also felt like in the fall before that was sort of like March time of like January, February, March time of 2021. But like November of 2020, like I was like, my body changed a little bit. I felt like I had gained some weight. My hair is just not the same. Like there's just like things that
How
I'm
old
like,
were you?
I was, well, at that point I was 38.
Okay.
And so I was just like, something's not right. I just don't like that. What's going on? Weight loss completely was like not possible. It just was like, just not possible. It didn't matter what I did. I mean, I remember even in 2021, later on, after I'd been to the doctor, I was like, I went on a trip to Cabo with some girlfriends and I was like, okay, I think I need a siesta for the liver. Just like we did a boat trip one day and I just decided to not drink for like 30 days. And that would be enough to for sure, like change the body.
Yeah.
And because whenever you do that, you're also more conscious of other things like the food and all the other, it's just like you work out more, like it just tends to be a real waterfall effect. And nothing changed. Like nothing changed. I didn't look any different. I didn't feel any different. And so I'd started to really kind of dive into what could be going on. I had my labs done, and the first thing that came through was that I had an underactive thyroid. And so I thought, oh my God, this is it. I'll take a thyroid pill and everything will be fine. This is why my hair is not as good as it used to be. This is why I gained some weight. This will be everything. And And that didn't do anything. So after a couple of phases of increasing the dosage and nothing happening, this is just with my OB, I was like, and my hormones were low. We checked my hormones and they were low. He was like, you need a functional doctor. So I worked at the functional doctor for a while, but in the meantime of getting that functional doctor, I had, my boyfriend at the time gave me an awesome book by Ben Greenfield, Boundless. And so I started like getting interested in biohacking and all the things. And so, I was like, oh, I'll interview Ben. And so I asked Ben at the end of the interview when we were done, I was like, if I wanted to know like what to eat, when to eat it, how to work out, when to work out, all those kinds of things, like just like dial me in. It was like, all right, do these tests and then we'll talk about it after, which we actually ended up doing for another podcast. We just talked about the review, which might've been boring for people. It's interesting in that the information you get, but it's not your body. So, but it's still interesting to see how deep the information can go. And so I had started getting all these tests, like stool tests, Dutch test, like stools for like, parasites and GI and just like, all kinds of, your microbiome, Dutch test for hormones. I did a blood draw for checking for food sensitivities for leaky gut. I did a genetics test for certain genetic pathways. I did a couple others. There was like 5 or 6 different tests. And, environment, sort of toxins, like, and then with my functional doctor, we added one more, which ended up being like a really interesting one, which was a provoked urine test for heavy metal toxicity. And so, and that's how I got onto you, was toxicity, like fasting and hormones all came later. Like there wasn't many people speaking about the process of detoxing from heavy metals.
Yes.
And so that's how I got interested in you last year. And so the heavy metal report came back and I had like through the roof mercury, like the threshold is 5 and mine was 170. And I had heavy like thallium, cesium, and lead and one other one. And then mercury were all elevated.
There was one, I'm trying to remember because I wondered, cadmium, I want to say, I wondered if you got it from car racing, like from brake pads. You and I talked about that. There was one that I was like, wow, this came from a unique environmental source.
That's very likely. I mean, there were times in my career at the end, the last couple of years, I was getting migraines and it would be easy to like trigger the migraine. Like, let's say I could get it anyway. It was rare that I would just get a migraine just from the driving. But let's say, I would, but let's say I had like one drink on Sunday night after the race. I would have a 2-day migraine. Yeah. So it was very easy to trigger that. Yeah. And so I thought maybe I'm getting carbon monoxide poisoning.
That's common for racers.
I checked my would it be my CO2 level before I got in the car. And then I got out of the car and immediately got on the golf cart and to go back to my bus, which is how it always goes. You get out of the car and you walk straight to the golf cart and leave. And someone was right there with the test to do it again. So I immediately did it after I get out of the car. And I think it went from like 0 to 3. And they were like, that's not a big deal. They're like, smokers are at 10. So I realized that probably that's not the problem. But that could have been the initial phase of some of that heavy metal toxicity, which when we loop in the breast implants, which I got when I was 32, like I had them now for a few years. And so that could have been accumulating in my blood and in my body. And in it goes into fat cells, right? Mercury and lead goes into the bone. Lead is more hereditary in the bone. Yeah. And so, who knows, but anyway, so I got that heavy metal report back and that was high. So I went through a phase of like doing gut rehab for 90 days, cutting things out of my diet, taking certain pills. I had a level, like a 7 out of 10 dysbiosis. So like gut bacteria was not perfectly balanced. And so that I was doing that, that didn't help. my gut biosis at the end of the year in November. Like these were tests done in the summer. So about 4 or 5 months later, my dysbiosis was 10 out of 10 now. I had another bad strain or another strain of bacteria that was unwanted. We never checked my leaky gut again because at the time my doctor was like, it's not going to be better. And I was like, why am I spending 90 days doing all this stupid shit? Like taking all these pills and
that's not motivating.
yeah, that's not motivating. And but she, and I know that it's hard on the body, but she was like, you're training for the Boston Marathon. This isn't going to help you. We need things to calm down. So my Provoke test later in the year was better. It was better because I had done some chelation, but man, doing like chelation and running the marathon, like heat really gets me. Like as I've seen recently, even like working out, being back in Arizona, because I spent 2 months in Indiana getting out of the heat, like my body. And also on top of that, now I'm doing so many other modalities. It zaps me. But anyway, to get back on track, I did a whole bunch of tests in the summer, really got going on, many different protocols. I tried, then at the end of the year, I got onto another doctor who was actually passed on to me by Ben Greenfield. And so then I did some NAD, like loading phase of NAD, like 5 out of 10 days.
Crazy
I tried.
amount.
Yeah, that's a lot of NAD. And I felt it was hard. It took like, she came to my house to do the drip. And I mean, it took like 3-4 hours each time, just by the time she got here and got the IV and, did the drip, took a couple hours. So, that was time consuming and I didn't feel good doing it. I mean, you have to take Zofran. It's so rough. And then,
I mean, you like, one of the things that I love about you is you're like, okay, let me do everything. And I'm not just going to do everything a little bit. I'm going to just go all in. Like you definitely did everything. Like
I did peptides too. I thought peptides would help. Peptides didn't do anything. And so basically now you've heard me stumble along a whole bunch of tests and a whole bunch of protocols and a whole bunch of different things. And then finally, so now we're entering into early 2022 and it was like January, February. And I just finally hit a wall and I was like, nothing helps. Nothing makes me feel better. And I was like, I for some reason started watching more breast implant illness stories and videos on YouTube and following like Instagram stories of people and watching their journey. And I just was like, I got to get these out. So I made a call in March. I remember I was on vacation in Telluride and I was like, hi, I'd like to make an appointment. They're like, okay, we're booking consultations for June and surgeries for October. And I was like, I mean, here we are in August and it's been done for months. So at first I was like, and I don't know what to say, So I'm like, well, we better get the ball rolling. And so, I said, if there's anything that comes up any sooner, please let me know. And so, I was booked for like June and then an opportunity for, surgery came up in June. And so I put a down payment for that. And I hadn't even done the consultation yet. And then they said, I mean, I did get some little extra special service. And then
I was going to say, you didn't pull the Danica Pactrick card.
I didn't pull it. They allowed, they gave me and then I remember I was in, then it was May and I was on my 40th birthday. I mean, my goal for my 40th birthday, probably like anybody else in their 40s, like, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life.
Yeah,
I was in the worst fucking shape of my life. Like I was in the worst, like, inside and out. And so, I was on my birthday trip with 9 girlfriends on a yacht in the Exumas and it was heaven. And I'm like busy on the phone because they're telling me now that there's a May date, an April date that I can get in for, the trip was in April. My birthday is March 25th. We went the first week of April and there was an April 27th surgery date. And I was like, oh my God. And so I told them I have to leave 8 days after the surgery because I had to go work the Formula One race in Miami. And I was like, is that enough time? And so then I'm in the back bedroom with I don't remember who took the pictures, maybe my sister, I don't remember, but I was like, hey, I need you to take some pictures of my boobs. I need to send them to the doctor. They need to check and see if I'm basically like 8 days will be enough to recover. Yeah. They need to size them up. Exactly.
Literally.
And so I have like a sunburn line because I had like a tube top on, and it was like day one, and I had got like a sunburn right away.
Yeah.
And so I looked ridiculous, but I sent them and they're like, you should be fine. So so then I booked it for the 27th, got them out, and immediately. So the thing is that I had my surgery appointment because, again, I got in last second. It was at 2:30 in the afternoon. If I was better at fasting, I would have felt better all day.
Yes.
And
very true.
I got home by like 5, and that night, I'm like, by the time I finally kind of came out of the drunken haze from the drugs, like, I remember I like touched my face and I was like, oh, wow. And like, I had my own, like, oil was being produced on my skin for the first time. And I just forgot what it felt like. I just didn't even think about it. You know, my scalp had been dry for years. Like I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I knew to notice my scalp, but I didn't notice that. I didn't think about the whole body being in effect.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, I was like, oh my God, like my body's saying, thank you. And I woke up in the morning, and I mean, we're like 12 hours out from surgery. And I'm like, I've got drains because that's
what I saw on Instagram.
Yeah. Have to do drains. And I'm like, they're so small. Do I really? My worst scar is from the drain on one side. And so, so I'm walking around the kitchen, and I'm like pacing in the kitchen, and my mom is here to take care of me. And I'm like, Mom, I have so much energy. I don't know what, I mean, like, we should go grocery shopping. And like, so like, it's like 7 a.m. and 7:30, we're like at the grocery store, and I've got a big sweatshirt on to like hide my giant drains on my body. And, I felt amazing. Like, I mean, the 48 hours, the drains came out because there was so little fluid coming out. I mean, that night, 48 hours later, I probably shouldn't have, but my mom and I shared a bottle of wine. Like, you know, we played Monopoly, and I was like I was able to like do yoga shit and put my hands behind my back and stretch. And I did an interview with the doctor, because when and obviously 48 hours later, getting the drains out and feeling so amazing was the day that I also shared, I shared that I had done the surgery, and I had no plans on sharing it unless it did something. Right. Like I had been kind of sharing my medical journey a little bit, and and my curiosities about the body, but I was like, I'm not going to share anything until it works. And trust me, like I thought the gut protocol would have worked. I thought the thyroid medicine would have worked. I thought the peptides would have worked. I thought the NAD would have worked. I thought I thought every protocol I tried would have worked, every one of them, and they didn't. And so it wasn't like I thought, so of course, here comes the breast implants getting removed. And I mean, I think hopefully this works, and it did. Like, that's the thing is that it finally did something. Yeah. And so I shared that, and I was like, oh man, Mom, should I do this? And, she's like, well, you're probably going to tell everyone anyway. And I'm like, true. And so I just hit send, and I'm so glad I did. Oh. And, but I mean, I was doing an interview with the doctor for Good Morning America, like, 4 days later, because it had just caught fire. And, I'm so grateful, because there's so many people that have, passed along their gratitude for it. And there's been really good stories since.
Yeah. And I know, this, like when you stand up and show, hey, I'm drawing a line in the sand for my health, and my health is more important than the size of my breasts or what they look like. It really, like, you just give all women permission to reevaluate how we look, A, at our breasts, and B, what we do to toxify ourselves for beauty. And that to me is the biggest heartbreak that I have, is that so many women in the name of beauty are destroying their mental and physical health without knowing. It's innocent. They don't realize what they're doing. So I loved watching it all unfold on Instagram.
And I guess to like close the loop on the whole, like my symptoms, I probably can go back to, and it's also a good lesson too, I can track it back to probably 2018. It didn't seem to do anything. I got them, I think, at the end of 14. So 15, 16, 17, I didn't notice anything. But as soon as like the beginning of 18 hit, I felt like I had like an incremental, like I had weighed like 110 pounds my whole, like for so long. And then all of a sudden it was like, 5 pounds, I was like, weird. It wasn't super noticeable on my body, but I knew it was there as a number goes. And I was like, that's so weird. And I thought, well, I don't know. I was like, maybe my hormones are off. Cause that was what I thought. Like cause I would work out a little bit more, like change my diet, things that would totally make a difference. And they weren't doing anything. And I thought maybe my hormones are off.
Yeah.
And then I just did the overpower thing that I would tell anyone.
Yes.
Or, of course I told myself the same thing. And I was like, try harder, do better, push harder. This is just like getting older. This is just like, you've got to do more. And I'm sure that I completely, drove myself into the ground by, working out more, stressing about it, period. Eating less at times, like all those things are not going to help. And so if I would have listened,
was this after the implant, or this is,
this is after. Yeah. So this is like 18. So I got them. So it was about 3 years after I got them.
Yeah.
And and my hair too wasn't the same. Like I had like this super long dark hair forever. And it just kind of kept getting shorter because it just was kind of breaking off and not growing. Yeah, and I thought that was age too. So now I'm of the stance that I'm not putting up with it. I'm not that old. It's not going to be this way. I'm going to live to 120. And if this is a third of the way, no way, man. There's totally a way. And I'm not putting up with the old age thing. It's not flying in my book. So
amen to that. Oh my God. I have so many things to say on that. So for starters, hormones, the hardest part about hormones is that you can't push through them. And let me tell you, as a type A overachiever woman, like I have that same like mentality, like push the pain away, keep going, head down. But when we're trying to bring hormones back into balance, it doesn't work. And it is so hard, which is why I like looking at it more like gas pedal brake. Like we need to know when to put the gas pedal on all things with your lifestyle and when to put the brake on. And it's that brake that's going to be the hardest. And especially for you, but for so many women, it's that we live in that, if we go back to this idea that we live in a patriarchal society that rewards work ethic and rewards success and pushing through. But when it comes to a woman's health, it's not a push on through moment. It's a investigative moment, which is really what I hear is that you were like, okay, what stone haven't I unturned?
Exactly.
And now we've got to figure out the gas pedal and the brake for you, which will be maybe the hardest emotional piece of this for you, perhaps.
Oh, great. Just when I thought I had gone through the hardest stuff.
No, it's just a muscle, that parasympathetic nervous system, and how to nurture that is just it's a hard muscle to nurture. And I think as women, there's a way for us to be strong and push in. And then there's a way for us to be strong in our vulnerability and strong in our ability to say no, and strong in the honoring of our hormones when we need more progesterone and we're supposed to sit on the couch and chill out. Like there's strength in honoring the hormone of the day and what's needed. So that's where we're going.
I do, however, need you to come and handcuff me to the couch though. Okay. If you could just handcuff me to the couch, that would be great.
I always say that one of the things I would love to do is just take people and lock them in a room and fast with them. And I'll just hang there and let them fast, because I know the body will heal itself, but it would probably be pretty brutal. So the other thing I want to tell you that I think is really an interesting part of your journey that is so consistent for everybody is, have you heard of the toxic bucket theory?
No.
So we're all born with a different size bucket of toxins that we can handle. And this is where genetics come in. So some humans have these huge genetically big buckets, and they can take so many toxins and they'll never have a symptom. And some humans have a very, very small bucket, and your genetics determines your size of your bucket. Then you inherit a toxic load from mostly mom. It comes through the matriarchal line. So because in the womb, all of her toxins went into you. And when she was in your grandma's womb, all the toxins went into her. So we start to see a pattern of toxins that get dumped into the human that you are. Then you come into the world and you accumulate your own. So the part of your story and where the breast implants really kicked in that I see is between that and some emotional stressors, your bucket tipped. And when your bucket got so high and it started to tip, then nothing's going to work. I don't care what parasite cleanse you throw at it. I don't care how many fasts you do. The goal is that we've got to empty the bucket. And you did a great job taking the breast implants out because you stopped the barrage of toxins coming in.
Totally.
Now the work is emptying the bucket.
Exactly. I kind of knew that would come too. Like, but at least my body will respond. And that's the thing, is that even getting some blood work done like 13 days after surgery, finally, like there was a changes within my blood work. And so like thyroid came up just into normal range for the first time. And so I was like, okay, cool. Some stuff's going to kind of heal itself, but there's going to definitely be some stuff that I'm probably going to have to do some work for. And I might be doing the same work I did before, but at least it's going to make a difference now.
So smart. It's so smart. Yeah, that's exactly right. And then the other part of the breast explant that I think you and I have talked about is that when you remove the source, now you got to go and, okay, have I opened up the pathways, the detox pathways to let all of that out? I mean, I love, like, the body's built to, I love what you said about the body is built to live to 120. Like, we're not meant to be sick at 40. So when we are sick at 40, there's an evolutionary mismatch. We are living in the most toxic time in human history, physically, mentally, chemically. Amen. So we've got to now go back to the true essence of your body. And then, at 100, you'll be dancing on tables and remembering every story.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah. Thanks to you. And thanks to, just science moving along and more information. I mean, look, there's a lot of things that technology is like, maybe not the best for, but there are things that it's great for. And it's about having discernment of when to use technology and when to not.
Right. Now, I asked you this question, and you definitely have a unique mindset. So, but what does it feel like to just have your breasts taken off? Like, is there an emotional, like, I can't even imagine. I'm sure you already went through this when they went in, but feels something very vulnerable about that experience. Are you just black and white and you're like, I'm just going to do this and not think about it? But I think a lot of women struggle with that. We're going to take the breasts off, and it's part of my identity.
Well, I mean, I got them in the first place because I thought, well, I'm super fit, I'm lean, I look good, but I just don't have boobs. And I thought, am I going to wait till I'm done with my career and whatever age that'll be, and maybe my body won't be the same. And then I was like, man, if I could just kind of complete the package right now. And I got them, and I'd say first off, I'll just say, I actually felt more in my body. I actually felt more somewhat insecure at times. Like, I didn't really want people to notice them. Like, I wanted to have them to sort of like complete this like image in my head and to feel a little bit more feminine and sexy.
Yep.
So I'd say, like, in a swimsuit and in a dress, like where there's, curves and stuff, like, it was nice to fill that stuff out, and it did look a little bit better. But when it came to like the actual like feminine sexy part, like, I knew they were fake, and I knew if anyone touched them, they were fake. And it wasn't, you couldn't forget. I never forgot ever.
Yeah.
And then when I got them out, I actually feel like sexier.
Yeah.
Ironically, like there's nothing to hide, like whether don't want to wear a bra, or whether, and now I'm very small, or whether I'm in a swimsuit or anything, like, I'm like, I don't care. It's just literally how I look. And then, if someone were to touch them, I wouldn't feel weird, because it's just it's like, it's not like there's no mental barrier there. It's just my body. So I feel more sexy without them. Yeah. And I actually felt less sexy sometimes, to some degree, with them in. So I can't say it really like checked my boxes. It didn't, because I'm so, look, and I'm a girl, and there's a few things that I'll do to sort of like improve looks. And, I'm not 100% natural, but I do like mostly natural. And I like, authenticity from the inside to the outside is important. And, And we just, I think we're in a point in time, we're definitely on the outside having, looking like yourself. I think there'll be a commodity on people that actually look like a normal human being and look like themselves and look different from each other.
Yes.
Like someone that looks different, someone that has, a different sort of expression, or the way the shape of their face is. It's like, now it's like, filler here to like change things. It's filler here. It's Botox in these places to like move the face around. And, I haven't said it, I do a little Botox, but like, maybe I'll end up quitting doing that because maybe I'll realize that's toxic too. And I'm like, but I really like that one. That does not make me feel more insecure. And I just do a little bit, just right here. But I think that we're definitely living in a time where there's so much, like you said, more toxicity and disconnection from the self. And that does not create confidence. It lacks it. It makes you lack more of it because, being yourself and being able to rock that is really, ultimately the goal.
I heard recently that there's been so much Botox and fillers that they actually, with actresses and actors, they're having to bring in some CGI to like make their faces move so they have to do post-production because their faces aren't moving. So they don't show like empathy. They can't show anger. I've even had some of my friends who have done Botox. I had a friend one time tell me, I don't think my kids know when I'm angry because I can't like make my head scrunch down. So I'm
trying. I mean, obviously it doesn't do a lot.
Right? There you go.
But I have a scowl face quite a bit. So it's probably a good thing that I didn't. I look more approachable.
But to your point, I feel like this is for women. I'm going to go back to this new world for women, because this is what I feel like conversations like this can create, is I really want women to start to think about how we show up physically, mentally, emotionally, a lot different. And I believe that where is the naturally aging person? What do they look like? I always tell my following, like, you can just watch me because I'm just going to keep going natural. And I'm just not going to do but I'm also interested in stem cells and exosomes. And okay, I'm willing to go down that path.
Yep.
But when you put a toxin in me, that's where my brain shuts down.
Yeah.
My other question, and this, you tell me if this is too personal, but I got to ask it.
Pretty much nothing is.
Okay. So one of the things I've had, conversations I've had at ladies' nights, is about the sensitivity of nipples and the size of a breast. Sure. So what I think a lot of men may not realize, a lot of women might not even realize, which is oftentimes smaller breasted women have very sensitive nipples. And larger breasted women tell me, oh, this is real breasts. They say, oh my God, my nipples are like numb, like they are not sensitive at all. So did you notice?
Mine are sensitive.
Yeah. Totally. Did you notice a difference when you had the implants in, where was there less sensitivity compared to now?
I don't think it changed too much. Yeah, I don't think it changed too much, but there's always been sensitivity, and my implants were pretty small. But I would say maybe I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. But you're gonna have to go test that. You have to go test that one out for me and let me know.
Yeah, it seems normal. It seems good. Yeah, but I mean, that's interesting though, that bigger breasted women would have less sensitivity. Interesting.
Yeah. So and then if you look at, okay, well, let's go back to how women, the womanly, beautiful, feminine figure is typically that woman who's got big breasts. But okay, now let's just say, what is it that if she's sexy with bigger breasts, that sort of alludes that you're going to be more sexy in bed, or is going to have more pleasure in bed. And it would be something to conquer. And the way I look at it is like, actually smaller breasted women have so much more sensitivity that I have seen in research and in discussions than larger breasted women. I don't know.
Go us.
Yes, go us. I might just be a little bit, biased because I sit in the small breasted woman category. So,
okay, good.
Yeah.
I love it. I love having small boobs. Actually, I'm so happy because, It's like you can wear all kinds of clothes too.
Oh my
'Cause when you have
gosh.
really big
Yeah.
boobs, you have to be careful how revealing it is because it can look a little bit much.
Yeah.
But the less boobs you have, the more options you have.
Yeah. And let's just talk about when you're working out. It's a
Sure.
lot easier. Or if you can just walk around without a bra on, like there's so many things that are so much easier when you're smaller chested. So
Yeah.
that's my plug for that. Okay. Tell me what else, just so people that are listening that are like, okay, I'm hearing you. I'm thinking about doing this. You had the immediate change. What
Yeah.
else do you feel like is a symptom that did not come back the minute you took those implants out? That symptom changed for the good.
I would say my energy level came up. Like I naturally just had more energy. Like, and I mean, there's definitely a rhythm to your cycle and times where you're up and down a little bit, but I have more energy more of the time. My face kind of shrunk a little bit. So there was definitely like some, we've been working with the lymphatic system. So, I mean, it like lymph nodes and all through my upper body, especially, but I mean, lymph nodes went down right away and my face went down. Um, like the oil on my skin and my scalp improved a lot. And blood markers, hormone markers, endocrine system, and thyroid, those kinds of things all definitely started coming up. So like there was definitely just generally like a biological suppression. Like my body was just like, we're done.
Yeah.
And so that's come back.
Those are big.
Those
are really big. I think that this is one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on was just to help women see that sometimes we have to make tough decisions about toxic loads and we have to put a stake in the ground around our health. And it's not always convenient, but some of the things that we do are so big and so helpful to the body that it's worth it. And so would you say that it's been, I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say, but has it been worth it?
It's totally worth it. And here's the thing, like I went to a lot of different doctors and I would bring it up. I've brought it up for the last couple of years. Like, oh, do you think this could be it? Shoot. I was even like working with a body worker that I used here in town. And I was like, I always had a hard time getting this arm behind my back. And like, it always did have a lot of shoulder pain, like even to the point where I couldn't even do it. Like this one, no problem. But then this one, I'd be like, and I was like, could it be weird? Like from my implants? And like, I've been asking questions about them for a while. And, the implication of someone, especially a doctor saying, yes, that's it, is surgery. And that's a big burden, right? And you don't know their emotional connection to them. You don't, I mean, surgery is always a real thing. That's going under the knife is a real thing. And so, there's sort of like a responsibility for saying that that's it. So I understand the discretion that doctors are using to, not discourage, but at least be in the middle. But definitely there were a lot of doctors that said, I don't think that's it. Let's try some other things first. Like they were very much in the middle, if not believing. Right. And so what I would say is that through my own research and effort to watch stories, look at the symptoms, and really there's like I'm really big on like the quantum field of information coming in and attunement to information. And I think it's coming in that quantum field where it's not just like the words said. Sometimes they trip a trigger, but also there's just like an energy with it. And so like, I just like attuned and resonated so much with so many different stories. And I would watch and I'd be like, oh my God, that's me. And I would just feel it. And so like intuitively, as we're tying the loop from the beginning of the conversation, I was getting back more into that matriarchal, like energetic, like the emotion of things instead of that more masculine patriarchal sort of space we've been in, which is mental, that's more mental, and feminine's more emotional.
Yep.
And I was tuning in to the emotion and the physical reaction to these stories that I was having, and it resonated, and I just like felt it strongly within my body. So no matter what anyone says, and I mean, I wish I'd listened to myself back in 2018 and like with it's your hormones, maybe, Danica, I would have listened. Listen to your intuition. And that's what I did. So this is not for everyone this is not to say everyone's like, you for sure got to go get your implants out.
Agreed.
I think anything foreign should just not be a thing. But there's also people out there that have had double mastectomies, and they have like literally like divots, and they want to have something. And so I understand with compassion that there are certainly situations that are much more serious than just wanting to look better. But to really trust that intuition, tune into it. And the more you practice tuning into that intuition across the board with everything going on in your life, and following those, like looking at those things that happen, you're like, oh, that's interesting. But like, pick up on those synchronicities, pick them up, like, if you keep seeing a feather every time you take a step and walk somewhere, just take that as your little sign from the universe that you're on the right track. Start tuning into the energy of things, and then you'll get your answers.
Yeah. Oh my God. Boom. Mic drop. That was good. I always say, if I hear something 3 times, when I hear it the 3rd time, I go, it doesn't matter what it is. My brain goes, oop, okay, that's a message from the universe saying you need to go study that. You need to follow that. I also have a place in my body that I feel it when something hits me on a cellular level and I'm supposed to do something. And it used to come in my gut, but now it's like literally on the inside of my being when I'm wanting to make a big decision, or I'm trying to figure out how to move forward on something. If I feel the answer is right, I feel it literally in the core of who I am.
Wow.
Do you have, and that's what I heard in what you just said.
Well, when you just said 3 times, like one of the responses my body has to yeses when something is true is my body will kind of get a wave of goosebumps, and it's not real goosebumps. It's just like the cells going, yes. It's like, it's kind of like goosebumps. But it's like, and actually my body's doing it right now. I'm not cold. I'm just like, my body's having this yes system say yes, alert me. So that's one of my really big signs, is when my body just gets like a wave of goosebumps.
Yeah. And I'm going to go back to where we started this. That's what, in the matriarchal world, I think that, and I'm not, again, leaving the men out, but I think that from a hormonal and cellular level, as women, that intuitive sense has been there and drives us. But when we're not aware of it, because we live in this patriarchal world, because when we're not aware of it, we numb ourselves out to it. And you could even look at it with like drugs and alcohol, like when somebody's living incongruently in their life and they're not following their purpose, and their cells are saying this isn't right. It's very easy to say, well, I'm going to numb you out because it doesn't feel good to keep having these messages come through my being.
Oh man, it makes me remember this, that when people are disassociated and cold and unemotional, it's not actually that they don't have an emotion. It's that there's too much.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And they try and tune it out. There's too much. They can't go there. It's too much.
And can we just say that we live in a world where too much emotion isn't applauded? It's not like people are like, oh, I love that person. They're so emotional. Like they cry sometimes, they're angry other times. But, if we come back to the female structure, this is who we are. Our hormones, if you just look at our sex hormones, one sex hormone makes us have an incredible gift of gab. The other sex hormone makes us want to go inner and not talk to anybody, and gives us incredible intuition and might even make us a little teary. But when we moved into this patriarchal world, we have really gotten disconnected from that feminine vibe that is so crucial for our well-being. And when I hear you say, I just had this sense, I'm like, yes, that's it. And that's what we need to get back to as women. And that's where our health is going to start to move in a positive direction, when we learn how to connect to that. But it's going to take some hanging around people like you and listening to stories like this to be able to really retrain that part of ourselves.
Shoot, I'm still working on it, you know?
Right.
I mean, and the thing is that attunement to the self and feeling the emotions and really letting it like feeling where it hits in the body and the intuition about it, that doesn't only just help like knowing like hormonally what to do. That helps to know if you're in the wrong relationship.
Yep.
That helps to know that if you're in the wrong job. That
Yep.
helps to know that if a friend does not have the best intentions, like all of that stuff comes through the body. And so once you tune in, everything gets, you can have discernment when you watch TV and hear
Yes.
something on the news, like, you know, all of that stuff. It's like, you'll now be the lie detector test.
So well said. That is so well said. That's exactly. And you'll know what food to eat. You'll know how long to fast. Like everything becomes a really visceral understanding. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay. Well, I could keep talking about this for hours. There's two questions that I end every podcast, or one question I end my podcast with, but I'm going to throw an extra one, special one in for you.
Okay.
Okay. So do we have terrestrial life? And if so, what are they doing?
Is that one special for me?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, you ask everyone that question.
No, I don't, but I'm asking you because I want to have the conversation with you.
So 100%. I don't like, I think anyone that thinks that we're the only game in town, I feel like it's kind of a naive or narcissistic sort of thing to think, like to think that we're the only thing in the universe. And we are such an average to small like situation in the universe. Yes, our sun is not amazing. It's not a big sun. Like it's just not amazing. Our planet's beautiful. And I think that we're special and unique. But I don't think that we're the only game in town. So 100%. And I think that, you know, I mean, I remember I did an interview with John Paul DeJoria, who started Paul Mitchell and Patron and all kinds of, and he was like, we'll know for sure that there are extraterrestrials within the next sort of 5 years. And that was a couple of years ago. So
how are we going to know?
I mean, look, we've got the space program now and like all kinds of things. How are we going to know? I mean, one, intuition. There's got to be.
Yeah, there we go. And the women are going to tell us.
I think our consciousness needs to reach a certain point where we are accepting and not believing in all the propaganda that there's negativity, because otherwise, if there is actually like an interaction, a meeting of a reality that we see, not just a knowing, or some transcendental experience with them, I think that we're going to have to not think with hostility. We're going to have to be like, okay, there's benevolent extraterrestrials too. And I actually think that when I walk outside at night and I go let the dogs out and I look up to the stars and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm like, but am I ready if you come down here right now? And so, but I do think I have this belief that if there was some sort of meeting, that I think that they would be able to make you feel so comfortable. Did you ever see the movie Contact with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey?
No.
Well, at the end of the movie, it's her dad dies early and young in her life, and the movie kind of is pivotal around this situation. And she sees him on a beach, and it's this spiritual sort of like she's on this journey, and like through this. I'm not going to bore you with that. She sees her dad, and she's so comfortable. And I think that they would be able to make you feel comfortable in whatever situation. So yes, there's got to be extraterrestrials for sure.
Oh,
I mean, who the hell built the pyramids? Come on.
Right. So, but then I wonder, are they walking around in human bodies? Like, are we interacting with them and we don't even know it?
I think that there are some that are much more some other entity than human. Like, I don't know. I know some people like that you're just like, your eyes tell me a story right now that is not that human. Like the way you look through me, the way that, the energy that I feel. So I definitely think there are some. There's even more out there concepts of, you know, reptilians and things like that. But simply said, I think there probably are some bodies that are very much some other kind of energy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you let me know when you meet one and I'll do the same.
Oh, I've met many. I just am not for sure about it.
Oh, when you're
I
100%
think
sure.
so. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Oh my
Done.
gosh. Amazing. Okay. Now a more, tangible question. What do you have a gratitude practice? And if so, what is it? And in this year, in 2022, what are you grateful for? We've been through 2 years of everybody complaining. And I
Mm.
feel like 2022 really needs to be a time that we celebrate. What are you grateful
Oh.
for this year?
I mean, when I lay my head down at night, I would call myself spiritual and not necessarily religious, but I think there's just something. So sometimes I don't always know who to address. I'm like,
Mm.
God, source, I don't know, whatever's out there,
Whoever's out there.
higher dimensional frequencies. I always start off with all the things I'm thankful for, always. And I'm not going to say that every night I put my head down at night and I pray every night, but many times I do. And I'm grateful for, I list all the things I'm grateful for. And I think that what I am most grateful for of recent time is, there's a lot of things, but what I've really realized is that I have amazing people in my life, just like the relationships that I have, the friends, my family. And I just keep collecting like amazing humans.
Yeah,
Like
you do
you're
have
one
some.
of them, and
Thank you.
so many others that I've met along the way in the last year or two, like just really special human beings that are, whether they're just like wonderful people or whether they have superpowers of like connecting with energies and the quantum world, whatever, like, or whether they're brilliant doctors or just whatever. I just feel like I've got so, like, the universe has really been blessing me with a lot of information and a lot of resources.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful for that. If I'm curious about something or someone or some specific area of life, like people just start showing up to fill it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
really
they
cool.
they actually say right now that the way astrologically, energetically, the way things are lining up, that manifestations are happening a lot quicker.
Oh yeah. Timelines.
And because I feel the same thing. Like every day, I'm like, oh my God, there's another interesting scenario here. There's another interesting person, and I don't know if we all were in hiding and now we're out. And like, and I feel like 100% aligned with what you just said. That there are some special people showing up with huge hearts that are entering into my world as well. And I wonder sometimes if it's that magnetic effect. When you listen to everything that you talked about and who you are and the journey you're on, I feel like, yeah, of course, amazing people are showing up because you're magnetizing them to you. You know, you have an energy that is attracting them to you. The non-special people, the angry people wouldn't even gravitate to you because they'd look at you and be like, I don't know, your vibe is not my vibe. So I think this is where I go, let's all vibe at this higher frequency and we can start to change the world, because it starts with changing ourselves. So
yeah.
anyhow.
You're totally right. I mean, I think that, like attracts like, and the thing is that as I mean, timelines are really sped up right now. And I think that that's part of it, is just like what would have taken 10 years to kind of meet and go through transitions with all these people. It's happening in 10 months now.
Yes.
And it's just, time is this very interesting parameter of our reality. But it's speeding up, and, speak to anyone, just speak to anyone on experience. Like you can't say timelines are not fast right now.
Right.
So as we're hurling through the universe, we're somehow reaching this sort of point in the universe where time is not the same as it used to be. And it's speeding up our growth and acceleration. And I think that there's something to be said for the collective consciousness too, the collective frequency. I look at like energy, and I look at like the world from an energy standpoint, and just, momentum. And about momentum. Wonderful Abraham Hicks. When I listen to Abraham Hicks, it's all about momentum, and we're going the right way. There's other stuff going the wrong way, but we're also going the right way. And life is all about polarity and duality. And so, just as much as things are spiraling out of control and crazy and dark and bad, there's also the other side of it.
Yeah. 1,000%. So thank you so much. This is really delightful. And a couple of things I want to tell you. For starters, as a woman, Thank you for breaking glass ceilings. Thank you for showing up as a badass race car driver that showed what women could do. And then thank you for being so public about what you did with your breast explant. So I know you know this in your mind, but I want you to know in your heart that you've really made a difference for women. So appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I felt that hit. And, as I joked about afterwards, like, this is what fame is for.
Yeah, there you go.
Sharing good stuff, sharing the journey and being vulnerable.
I love it. I love it. And if people want to find you, your podcast is amazing. So I want to put a plug into there. Anything else that
our episode, people are loving it. The Pretty Intense podcast. You can just search my name. It's anywhere you find podcasts. I also make wine, Somnium, Danica Rosé. One's from Napa Valley and one's French. And I have a candle company called Voyant that's very intentionally curated. There are 4 different ones after my trip to Egypt last year. Those are some of the big buckets. And I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Danica. This was amazing. Appreciate you.